Hello everyone, welcome to a new video of your Polyglot Academy, and in this video I'm going to finish the series on how to learn German up to a B1 level with 1,000 words, and I'm going to cover lesson number 10. So basically the last lesson covering words from 901 to 1,000. So let's dive right into it. Now the first word for today is vermuten, which means to suspect or to assume. Ich vermute, er ist schon gegangen. I suppose he has already left. Now we have die Behörde, which means authority or agency. Die Behörde hat neue Regeln eingeführt. The authority introduced new rules. Following on, we have zocken, which means to gamble or to play games. Ich mag es, mit meinen Freunden zu zocken. I like to play games with my friends. Now we have vorbeugen, which means to prevent or to lean forward. Sport beugt Krankheiten vor. Sports prevent illnesses. Now we have aussehen, which means to seem. Wir sehen ehrlich ähnlich aus. We honestly look alike. Now we have die Entschädigung, which means compensation. Er erhielt eine Entschädigung für den Schaden. He received compensation for the damage. Following on, we have reduzieren, which means to reduce. Wir müssen die Kosten reduzieren. We must reduce costs. Now we have streben, which means to strive. Er strebt nach Perfektion. He strives for perfection. Langsam means slow. Er ist langsamer als ich. He's slower than I am. Now we have trotzdem, which means still, nevertheless or despite, depending on the context. Trotzdem bin ich mit der Leistung zufrieden. I'm still satisfied with the performance, or nevertheless, I'm satisfied with the performance. Deswegen is also a very important word, which means that's why, or therefore, or for this reason. Ich habe kein Geld, deswegen bleibe ich zu Hause. I have no money, that's why I'm staying at home. Now we have umsteigen, which means to change transport. Du musst in München umsteigen. You must change trains in Munich. Voraussichtlich is the next word, which means expected or probable. Die Lieferung kommt voraussichtlich morgen. The delivery is expected tomorrow. Now we have ansonsten, which means otherwise. Ansonsten können wir es anders machen. Otherwise we can do it differently. Now we have das Konzept, which means concept. Das Konzept überzeugte die Jury. The concept convinced the jury. Kritisieren means to criticize. Viele kritisieren die Entscheidung. Many criticize the decision. Following on, we have zufrieden, which means satisfied. Ich bin mit dem Ergebnis zufrieden. I'm satisfied with the result. Now we have manchmal, which means sometimes. Manchmal gehe ich spazieren. Sometimes I go out for a walk. Next up, sondern, which means but. Er ist nicht krank, sondern müde. He's not sick, but tired. Damit is the next expression, which means so that. Ich beeile mich, damit ich pünktlich ankomme. I'm hurrying so that I arrive on time. Übernehmen means to take over. Er übernimmt die Leitung. He takes over the management. Unmittelbar means immediate or direct. Es ist eine unmittelbare Gefahr. It is an immediate danger. Now we have sichern, which means to secure or to back up. Sicher die Daten auf der Festplatte. Back up the data on the hard drive. Now we have studieren, which means to study at university. Sie studiert Medizin. She studies medicine. Following on, word 925, we have zusätzlich, which means additional. Es gibt zusätzliche Kosten. There are additional costs. Lustig, which means funny. Er ist ein lustiger Mensch. He is a funny person. Next up, gestresst, which means stressed. Ich verstehe nicht, warum er so gestresst ist. I don't understand why he's so stressed. Die Kooperation, which means cooperation. Die Kooperation zwischen Schulen ist wichtig. Cooperation between schools is important. Now we have vermeiden, which means to avoid. Versuche Stress zu vermeiden. Try to avoid stress. Now we have versichern, which means to assure or to ensure. Ich versichere dir meine Unterstützung. I assure you of my support. Now we have vernünftig, which means reasonable. Das war eine vernünftige Rede. That was a reasonable speech. Zuordnen means to assign or to match. Ordne die Bilder den Texten zu. Match the pictures to the text. Next up we have die Freiheit, which means freedom. Heutzutage ist eine gewisse Freiheit selbstverständlich. Nowadays, a certain amount of freedom is taken for granted. Next up we have packen, which means to pack or to manage. Wir packen das. We can do this. Next up, die Berührung, which means the touch or contact. Vermeide Berührungen bei Verletzung. Avoid touching an injury. Die Herausforderung means the challenge. Die neue Aufgabe ist eine Herausforderung. The new task is a challenge. Übertragen is the next word, which means to transfer or to broadcast. Das Signal wird live übertragen. The signal is broadcast live. Now we have zurechtkommen, which means to cope or to manage. Kommst du mit der Arbeit zurecht? Are you coping with the work? Now we have die Herkunft, which means the origin or background. Seine Herkunft ist international. His background is international. Now we have unterschreiben, which means to sign. Bitte unterschreiben Sie hier. Please sign here. Subtil is the next word, which means subtle. Der Unterschied ist sehr subtil. The difference is very subtle. Now we have empfindlich, which means sensitive. Here's an example. Seine Haut ist sehr empfindlich. His skin is very sensitive. Now we have elegant, which means elegant. Er zeichnet sich durch seinen eleganten Stil aus. He is distinguished by his elegant style. Next up we have zurückkehren, which means to return. Wann kehrst du zurück? When do you return? Now we have lecker, which means delicious. Das Essen schmeckt so lecker. The food tastes so delicious. Now we have ausstatten, which means to equip or to provide. Die Firma stattet alle Mitarbeiter aus. The company equips all employees. Now we have sich kümmern, which means to take care. Ich kümmere mich darum. I'll take care of it. Die Strategie is the next expression, which means strategy. Eine gute Strategie ist entscheidend. A good strategy is crucial. Now we have zugänglich, which means accessible. Die Webseite ist für alle zugänglich. The website is accessible to everyone. Now we have reparieren, which means to repair. Der Mechaniker repariert das Auto. The mechanic repairs the car. Now we have die Aktualität, which means topicality or timeliness. Die Aktualität des Themas ist wichtig. The topicality of the topic is important. Verarbeiten means to process. Die Daten werden schnell verarbeitet. The data are processed quickly. Now we have die Initiative, which means initiative. Er zeigt die Initiative und half sofort. He showed initiative and helped immediately. Now we have sauer, which means sour. Das schmeckt sauer. That tastes sour. Melden means to report or to announce. Bitte melden Sie sich telefonisch. Please report by phone. Der Betrag means amount or sum. Der Betrag ist überwiesen worden. The amount was transferred. Überweisen, which means to transfer money or to refer. Ich werde das Geld auf dein Konto überweisen. I will transfer the money to your account. Next up we have unberechenbar, which means unpredictable. Das Wetter ist unberechenbar. The weather is unpredictable. Now we have wirksam, which means effective, and here's an example. Das Mittel ist wirksam gegen die Krankheit. The remedy is effective against the illness. Now we have verlässlich, which means reliable. Er ist ein verlässlicher Kollege. He is a reliable colleague. Now we have schätzen, which means to estimate or to appreciate. Ich schätze deine Hilfe sehr. I appreciate your help a lot. Next up, umsetzen, which means to implement or to realize. Wir setzen das Konzept jetzt um. We implement the concept now. Now we have pünktlich, which means on time. Deutsche sind immer pünktlich. Germans are always on time. Unterbrechen is the next word, which means to interrupt. Entschuldigung, darf ich Sie unterbrechen? Sorry, may I interrupt you? Now we have der Zweck, which means purpose. Der Zweck dieser Studie ist klar. The purpose of the study is clear. Now we have positiv, which means positive. Das Feedback ist überwiegend positiv. The feedback is predominantly positive. Now we have word 967, zurücktreten, which means to resign or to step back. Der Vorstand trat zurück. The board resigned. Now we have vorsichtig, which means carefully or cautious. Fahren Sie bitte vorsichtig. Please drive carefully. Now we have verzögern, which means to delay. Der Zug wurde verzögert. The train was delayed. Tolerieren means to tolerate. Wir tolerieren keine Gewalt. We tolerate no violence. Next up we have die Akzeptanz, which means acceptance. Die Akzeptanz des Plans ist gestiegen. The acceptance of the plan has increased. Der Fortschritt means the progress. Der Fortschritt ist deutlich. The progress is clear. Now we have die Spannung, which means tension or voltage, depending on the context. Die Spannung im Raum steigt. The tension in the room rises. Now we have die Zustimmung, which means consent or approval. Ohne Zustimmung darf nichts veröffentlicht werden. Without approval, nothing may be published. Now we have neugierig, which means curious. Das Kind ist neugierig. The child is curious. Next up, sportlich, which means athletic or simply sporty. Die Jungs sind sportlich. The boys are athletic. Now we have erkennen, which means to recognize or to admit. Ich erkenne meinen Fehler. I recognize my mistake. Now we have brauchen, which means to need. Here's an example. Ich brauche deine Hilfe. I need your help. Now we have zutreffen, which means to apply or to be true. Das trifft auf mich zu. That applies to me. Now we have wirtschaftlich, which means economical or economic. Das Projekt ist wirtschaftlich sinnvoll. The project makes economic sense. Now we have Zweifel, which means to doubt. Ich zweifle an seiner Aussage. I doubt his statement. Die Leistungsfähigkeit is the next word, which means performance or capacity. Die Maschine hat hohe Leistungsfähigkeit. The machine is high performance. Now we have vertrauenswürdig, which means trustworthy. Diese Quelle ist vertrauenswürdig. The source is trustworthy. Now we have die Weitergabe, which means passing on or the transfer. Die Weitergabe personenbezogener Daten ist geregelt. The transfer of personal data is regulated. Now we have das Schwein, which means the pig. Muslime essen kein Schwein. Muslims do not eat pork. Now we have zusammenstoßen, which means to collide. Die Autos sind zusammengestoßen. The cars collided. Zusammenarbeiten is the next word, which means collaborate or literally to work together. Wir arbeiten eng zusammen. We collaborate closely. Wiederholen is the next one, which means to repeat. Bitte wiederholen Sie den Satz. Please repeat the sentence. Now we have die Verpflichtung, which means the obligation. Er hat eine rechtliche Verpflichtung. He has a legal obligation. Now we have ausdrucksvoll, which means expressive. Sein Gesicht war sehr ausdrucksvoll. His face was very expressive. Now we have zitieren, which means to quote. Zitiere die Quelle korrekt. Quote the source correctly. Umfangreich is the next one, which means extensive. Das Handbuch ist sehr umfangreich. The manual is very extensive. Der Ersatz, which means replacement, is the next one. Wir brauchen einen Ersatz für das Gerät. We need a replacement for the device. Verschieben, which means to postpone or to move. Wir verschieben das Treffen auf nächste Woche. We postpone the meeting to next week. Now we have beliebt, which means popular. Jener Sänger war sehr beliebt. That singer was very popular. Now we have stornieren, which means to cancel. Ich muss die Bestellung stornieren. I must cancel the order. Now we have höflich, which means polite. Die Lehrer waren höflich zu mir. The teachers were polite to me. Now word 998 is going to be die Wartung, which means maintenance. Die Wartung des Fahrstuhls findet morgen statt. The elevator maintenance takes place tomorrow. Now we have die Bereitschaft, which means willingness. Er zeigte Bereitschaft zur Hilfe. He showed willingness to help. And now finally, after 10 lessons, the word thousand, so basically the last word of this whole series, senkrecht, which means vertical. Warum hast du senkrecht gezeichnet? Why did you draw it vertically? Now, this was it. This was the last lesson and the last word. If you have any questions or any wishes for the channel, then please make sure to write them in the comment section. I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. And other than that, if you have any questions, any specific ones related to the videos or to some other stuff, as already mentioned, just write them in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like to support me. And other than that, thanks for watching. Thanks for, watching the series, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.